Hey guys, how's it going? I'm hoping this is gonna work. I tried to zoom in on this, and what I want to talk about on this jig that I have set up here is like I watch Iron Horse. I really enjoy his videos. He puts a lot of good, useful information out there. He's one of the channels that inspired me to make videos for you guys as well. So I have a great deal of respect for Harvey. And he showed a video, I forget what day it was. It was on a 372 single ring build he was building, where he showed making a low tension ring. And he was holding the ring using a dremel with a sanding drum and showing how he thins up the rings to make a low tension ring, which that method totally works. I think he even showed a video of the saw running too. That method totally works. I just thought I would show you guys a different method to achieve the same thing. That you know, you'll get the same result, but just a different way of doing it. And if I do that, I use these jigs like I make for my pistons, but it can be a piece of pipe, it could be anything. And you want your notch to be the same size as your piston, and you just put your ring in flush to it so that it's level. And then what you would do is you would take a measurement with your calipers. You'd come in here like this, take your measurement, and then write your measurement down, and then you would mark that spot with a Sharpie, so you could come back to it every single time and know how much you're taking off. And I use these flat stones. This one's crooked. I just mocked this up to this is a new stone, but to true these stones up, you can use a piece of, you can put it in the lathe and use a piece of, I save old bad carbides for trimming up stones. But what I would do, I'm hoping that's not, yeah, I guess you would come in. I need this ring for different projects, so I won't be grinding on it. I'm just using this as a visual aid. But you can come in and bring this in, and then with WD-40 all over it, while this is turning and that's turning, you could come in there and, you know, till it just kisses, and then you just work this, you know, back and forth like that, and just keep bringing this back and just keep rocking it back and forth with lots of lube, and then shutting it down and taking measurements to thin your ring. Either method will work. I prefer this method over trying to hold it by hand. I've done it both ways. Both ways are totally doable. I just like this method better. And if you guys were going to be doing a lot of them rings, you could, you know, set your fixture up to however deep you want it, and you could, I probably wouldn't recommend doing more than 6 rings at once, but you could do a multitude of rings. I just wanted to show this a different way of achieving the same thing. Some people might like this method better than another method, and there's other ways of doing this as well too. So I just thought I would put, you know, how I would do it. Now I'm gonna pause you guys. I'll take this out and bring over there. I'm gonna pause you guys, and I got me a dry erase board, and let's head over to the dry erase board and talk about the pros and cons of doing this. So give me just a second, guys. Alrighty, it looks like I was able to zoom back out after pausing that, so that's pretty cool. Let's try to get you guys into view here. Now, let's say after you've got this ring to your desired thickness that you wanted, you're going to want to take sandpaper. This ring is really in there, but you're going to want to take sandpaper and go around the edge on each side of your ring. But after you would do that, this will be my first time ever doing one of these. I'm gonna grab my chair here and see if I can do this without messing up too bad. Guess we'll take this. I've never even rode on this thing yet, so let's draw a line down the middle, and then what's positive and negative on making a low tension ring. What's one of the benefits of a low tension ring? Less drag. And you guys are going to see some really bad writing here. You got less drag on the ring. You got less heat. So there's two benefits. What's another benefit? Sometimes you can make more power. So by doing a low tension ring, you can get three benefits right there. There's probably more too. Running one ring, you'll get more oil on it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Now let's talk about the minuses of doing this. Well, you have less tension. Less tension means that the edge of this ring on your cylinder wall, where that ring is, there's less tension here and here. If there's less tension, pressure can push past it, and then you can get blow-by. So, loss in cylinder pressure. So you can lose pressure. You can lose, that would typically lose a little bit of compression. So, man, I'm horrible at this, guys. So there's two losses right there. I mean, it's minuscule by now, but what else is going to happen? You're going to get ring flutter. You're going to get ring flutter. So, for every positive thing, there's also a negative thing. And how can we fix some of this? Well, an old timer showed me probably 25 years ago, back when I was building big engines, and we called it porting the piston. And what porting the piston does, let's say you got let's say here's your piston. Now, this is kind of cool. I can just do this. There we go. There's the wrist pin. There, that looks more like a piston. And then you got your ring gland. Porting the piston would be where you come in here and on a big engine we would put between 8 to 12 little half moons on the top of the ring gland in strategic spots across the piston. And that would be, let me grab this piston here, that would be right in here. Kind of like how, you can see how your pin stopper is, we'd kind of do something like that, but in strategic spots across the piston. And it would only be on the top. And we would do that by using a little drill. You do not drill through your piston, because that would be bad. And you do not kiss the bottom of your ring gland. And what this does is, when this piston is so here's your cylinder wall, real bad example of it, but when this is under high pressure, gas porting that piston, allows that high pressure gas to go through them grooves that you put on the top lands of the piston, and it allows that high pressure to actually come in and get behind the ring and push the ring harder into the cylinder walls for a better seal. And we would do this on drag engines. And gas porting that piston would fix the ring flutter, it would fix the loss in pressure, and it fixes the loss in compression. Now, what's the downside of doing that? You add more stress to the edge of the ring and the cylinder wall because it's putting tremendously more pressure only upon compressing it and the igniting of the gas pressures pushing down. After the exhaust opens, the pressure is relieved, and then this ring goes back to low drag. So, you know, people always wonder why, like, you know, high horse drag motors and stuff get rebuilt all the time and stuff. Well, this is one of the things. It does create excess cylinder and ring wear, but it also is a big bump in performance, you know, by gas porting your piston. It almost cuts ring flutter to nothing, and when your ring's fluttering, that's where the ring's shuddering on the cylinder wall, and it's losing its ability to seal against the cylinder wall. So if you thin your ring, do a low tension one, you gas port that piston, it solves all these problems, but you do add wear. So, you know, take that to how you guys will. But there's three ways, I guess. That I see Total Seal offers gas slotted rings right from Total Seal now. They took what racers were doing and realizing it works, and now they're offering it in rings. And I believe you can get pre-gas ported pistons for big engines as well. I've not seen any that I'm aware of for chainsaws, but what works on a big engine piston will most definitely work on a small engine piston. And like, I took a broken ring right here and put a little groove in it to kind of emulate what Total Seal's doing. They just have little so the gas can come in there and get behind it. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you thin a ring. Another thing that you're doing when you thin a ring is you're compromising the ring. It's going to be more acceptable to breakage, which breaking rings does happen in high performance engines. It can happen. So, and I'm very, very sorry that I'm doing a horrible job explaining this. This is my first crack at it. I was trying to think how I wanted to explain that to you. But if you're going to thin your ring, you might as well, you know, gas port your piston, which I don't know if I got. Where's my Sharpie? Which gas porting the piston. I don't want to use the Sharpie on the board. But see if I can do a bigger piston. See if I can make this easier for you guys. Let's see here. Can't draw a straight line to save my life. But let's say that's the ring gland right there. You would strategically place your little half moons probably on a small, say like 50 millimeter. You'd probably not need more than 6. You know, on a 4-inch piston we were doing between 8 and 12. But I would think 6 would probably be sufficient for a 50 millimeter. But you would strategically place your gas port on the top of the gland like that, and that allows the high pressure charge to go in behind the ring and push it out. You don't want to drill through the piston, and you don't want to drill or mangle any part of this lower part of the piston gland, because if you damage any part in here, that high pressure gas is just going to go right around the ring, bypass the bottom of it, and into your crankcase, and that would not be good. So, but that's a trick. He's long gone now. He was a hell of an engine builder that I learned quite a bit off from. That's something that I really enjoyed doing, was hanging out with the old timers, and I learned a lot from them when I was in my youth building engines. But they called it gas porting, and there's different ways of doing it too. You can also come through the top of your piston and put little, you know, holes if you wanted to, but you're going to want to, you know, not touch that bottom ring gland at all. I do not recommend that method. I like coming in and just putting a little half moon, you know, divided up between 6 and 8. 6 would be the bare minimum, I would think. You know, and it doesn't have to be crucial, but all you're doing is basically mimicking that half moon, kind of like the pin does, and it's just allowing a little gap for the high pressure from the cylinder pressure to come in. It pushes the ring out against the cylinder wall, and it seals it up, and you will get more power. And I said I'd talk about getting more oil with one ring versus two. When this ring, especially if you got these ports in there, when this ring's coming up the cylinder wall, there's leftover fuel and oil residue on the cylinder wall. That ring's scraping against it. It, you know, builds up as it's coming up, and as it's coming down, that ring is scraping it, which is lubricating and cooling that ring. If you got two rings there, like this, the bottom gland and the top of this one tend to get more wear because they don't get as much oil in between them. This part of the ring gland seems to oil good, and so does the top part, but the middle part, top and bottom on the middle part, gets less oil. It does get a little bit more heat, but from that ring going up and down with less oil, that's where a lot of your slop in your ring glands come from. And you guys could probably take a junk ring like this and put a half notch in it for a guide, and you could probably, you know, snap it right in to a piston if you guys were worried about hurting the bottom, and use it as a guide, and then you could use your Dremel and go in there and put your little half moon marks in. But I'm sure there's got to be info out there on gas porting pistons. It's been done for years and years and years and years, and it works so well that, I mean, Total Seal's a pretty reputable company, and you can get Total Seal piston rings that are gas ported right from the get-go. I would be scared on a chainsaw. These rings are quite a bit smaller than what's in a if you were to notch it six notches all the way around, I have a sneaky suspicion you would probably really break that ring. But I just did that little mark to show you guys. I think I'm going to call this part of vid before it gets too long. Like I said, you can Harvey made a great video showing, he had something similar to this, but I think it was the drums that fit over the things, where he was going in and holding the ring and grinding it like this, which that method absolutely works too. I've done it. I prefer, you know, putting a ring, just got to be careful when you do it. I like putting the ring in a fixture something like this, and then just bringing it up to where it's flush like that, and then I can use, you can even use one of these. I like using the stones, and then while it's turning on the lathe, I'll just grind or sand it out that way. Either method works, but if take in mind when you're modifying rings, you are compromising them. And I'm sure there's a few things in here that I'm forgetting about, but everything that you do, there's always a cause and effect on everything. But by gas porting your piston, the only downside with that is extra cylinder wear. But if it's a cookie cutting saw that you're goofing off with, it don't matter. I just thought I'd share some of this knowledge on pistons that was passed down to me on big engines. I mean, I've got several small block Chevys out there running pistons that I drilled little half moon shapes in on the top gland all the way around that piston, and they made really good power. So that's just something to think about. Let me know what you guys think of this, and if you want to see more of my crappy drawings and writings on a board. You guys take it easy and have a good one and enjoy.